Welcome to my tutorial. You are the boss of your own citations. Even if you use a citation tool like Zotero or EasyBib, you have to understand MLA conventions to make sure you are creating a correct list of works cited. In this tutorial, I will show you how to 1. Review the information you need for your list of works cited page. 2. Select relevant sources from your Zotero library. 3. Check those citations to make sure they are complete. 4. Cut and paste them into a Google document. And 5. Design your Google Doc page so it is a correctly formatted list of works cited. I begin here with 3 pages open. Here we have a list of the consolidated requirements about the MLA list of works cited. In the middle, we have a blank Google Doc that's all ready to become your new list of works cited. And on the right, we have a Zotero page. We can find this by typing in Zotero in the search bar, then signing in and selecting the My Library tab on the Zotero page. Let's begin by walking through my MLA cheat sheet. This makes the tutorial a few minutes longer, but the information is super important. If you can't quite sit through it now, come back to it later. It will be worth the time, I promise. I just got the brand new edition of the MLA Handbook, and I'm excited to share this with you because it's a new and newly simplified explanation. Here is the list. Mark. Here is the list of elements the works cited list needs for each source you draw from in your essay. Zotero or EasyBib or other citation tools should help you gather this information, but you must always check to make sure that the information captured by the tool conforms to these expectations. In MLA, each outside source you mention or draw from in your writing must have a corresponding entry in the list of works cited at the end of the essay. Each entry should have the following information about its source: the author. For most published written work, the author or authors are clearly identified and easy to find. For works such as film and television that are usually produced by many people playing various roles, you have to consider what your discussion of the work is. If your discussion focuses on the contribution of a particular person, say the performance of an actor or the ideas of the screenwriter, begin the entry with his or her name, followed by a descriptive label. If you're writing about a film or television series without focusing on an individual's contribution, begin with the title. You can include information about the director and other key participants in the position of other contributors. It is sometimes difficult to find the authors of web articles or posts. When a work is published by an organization that is also its author, begin the entry with the title, skipping the author, and list the organization only as publisher. When a work is published without an author's name, do not list the author as anonymous. Instead, skip the author's element and begin the entry with the work's title. Next comes the title. Titles of long works, books, albums, feature-length films, and periodicals like the New York Times, plays, and websites are italicized. Titles of short works, like short stories, articles, short films, most poems, songs, and articles posted inside a website, go in quotation marks. That needs to be followed by the container when applicable. When a source being documented forms a part of a larger whole, the larger whole can be thought of as a container that holds the source. The title of the container is usually italicized and followed by a comma. A container might be a book that is a collection of essays or other works, a periodical, a television series made up of several episodes, or a website which contains articles or posting or other items. Next is where we put other contributors when it's applicable. Some works include other contributors whose participation is important to your research. Other important contributors might be a director, an editor, a translator, an introducer, a narrator, or a performer. Next, consider the version. If a source carries a notation indicating that it is a version of a work released in more than one form, identify the version in your entry. Books are commonly issued in versions called editions. Number, when applicable. A text too long to be printed in one book, for instance, is issued in multiple volumes, which may be numbered. If you consult one volume of a numbered multi-volume set, indicate the volume number. Journal issues are typically numbered. Some journals use both volume and issue numbers. In general, the issues of a journal published in a single year compose one volume. Usually, volumes are numbered sequentially, while the numbering of issues starts over with one in each new volume. Publisher. The publisher is the organization primarily responsible for producing the source or making it available to the public. Films and television series are often produced and distributed by several companies. When documenting a work in film or television, you should generally cite the organization that had the primary overall responsibility for it. Websites are published by various kinds of organizations, including museums, libraries, universities, and their departments. The publisher's name can often be found in a copyright note at the bottom of the home page or on a page that gives information about the site. A publisher's name may be omitted for the following kinds of publications: a periodical, a work published by its author or editor, a website whose title is essentially the same as the name of its publisher, a website not involved in producing the works it makes available, for instance, a service for users' content like WordPress or YouTube, an archive like JSTOR or ProQuest. If the contents of the site are organized into a whole, as the contents of YouTube, JSTOR, and ProQuest are, the site is named earlier as a container, but it does not qualify as the publisher of the source. Publication date. Sources, especially those published online, may be associated with more than one publication date. For instance, an article collected in a book may be accompanied by a note saying that the article appeared years earlier in a journal. A work online may have been previously published in another medium. When a book carries more than one date, cite the date that is most meaningful or most relevant for your use of the source. Location. How to specify a work's location depends on the medium of publication. In print sources, a page number preceded by P or a range of page numbers preceded by PP specifies the location of a text in the container, such as a book, anthology, or a periodical. The location of an online work is commonly indicated by its URL. A physical object that you experienced firsthand, not in reproduction, such as the work of art in a museum or an artifact in an archive, is located in a place, commonly an institution. Give the name of the place and its city, but omit the city if it is part of the place's name. Let's stop with this document for a moment and turn our attention over to our Zotero list. Let's look at my whole library for a second. Here we have everything that I have clicked Z on while I was looking around. Some of them are actual sources, and some of them are incomplete references that we would have to research to find. But mostly, I'm just looking for the couple of sources that had a big impact on my thinking while I was developing my working thesis. As I was looking at a bunch of these sources, I realized that at this moment I'm particularly interested in kind of international questions. So my working thesis right now very roughly is industrialized nations live comfortable lives at the expense of poorer ones. Now, this needs to be shifted and changed, but it's a rough amalgamation of my thinking at the moment. So I've selected a couple of sources that kind of pushed my thinking in this direction, and I've created a folder and moved them into it. So here are the two sources I feel like I'm most likely to use for my working thesis narrative essay. Now it's time to capture the citations. So I click on the first one. Here I have climate justice, people versus big polluters. This is a YouTube video about the Philippines. So I look over at this box, which is the citation button, and I click it. This gives me a chance to select a style, and since we're using MLA, I go down to Modern Language Association and click on that. And this gives me a citation. So for the moment, I'm just going to cut and paste it here. But I know this is not quite complete because if we look at our elements, right, um, I know it's a YouTube video and that counts, we just read, as a container. So I want to see where I put containers. That containers go after the title. So I want to add YouTube here. YouTube.com, period. And then I want to italicize it because containers are usually italicized. So the organization is the creator of it. Okay, Greenpeace Philippines created it, so I'm okay with that. I would call this a short work because it's only a few minutes. It's only, yeah, look, it's 65 seconds. So I don't think it should be in italics. I think it should be in quotation marks. Because remember, the titles of short works go in quotation marks. So I'm going to unitalicize this. But probably most importantly, it's missing a date. It has a date of access, but I would like to see if I can find a date of publication because all of this information shifts a lot. So I want to see how old it is. So I'm going to actually click on the URL. Here's my 1 minute video about typhoons in the Philippines. And I can see here it was published by Greenpeace Philippines on October 6th, 2016. So I'm going to add that date. Where does the date go? Author, title, container, version, publisher, publication date. So I'm going to add the date here. I'm going to say 6 October 2016. Right, there's no page because it's not a paginated situation. I'm not sure. Do we if something's published by an organization, how do we list it? Let's go up here and remind ourselves. Okay, so it says works such as film and television, this is kind of falls into that category, are usually produced by many people playing various roles. If your discussion of such a work focuses on the contribution of a particular person, then begin the entry with his or her name. If you're writing about a film or television series without focusing on an individual's contribution, begin with the title. So Greenpeace Philippines is important information. They're the organization that produced it, but they are not the most important aspect for me. So I'm going to I'm going to move them, right? I'm going to cut. So I'm going to lead with the title. And then down here where it says publisher, I'm going to figure out. So publisher goes before publication date. So we're going to put it right here. All right. So this is different from what Zotero told me, but they gave me the building blocks to to create it. So let's look at the next source. This is this is a longer piece. It was a lecture I listened to. let's take a look at the details. Um, it's a video recording of Winona LaDuke, who's a really great speaker, by the way. And let's look at the citation button and see what they give me for that citation. Again, we'll select the style, Modern Language Association. I'm not that happy with this one, but we'll cut and paste it and then see how we can add to it. Okay, so for sure, I know that this um, recording is of a lecture given by Winona LaDuke. So Winona LaDuke is the most important participant, right? So I'm going to give her the author position. All right, so when we list authors in our list of works cited, the first author, in this case the only author, is listed last name first. So we will put LaDuke, Winona, and then a period. And so we have author, and then we'll have the title. This is a longer lecture. Let's see. So it's about almost the size of a feature film. So I'm going to leave it in italics, the title. Um, let's look for the container. What is the container here? It looks like it's YouTube, right? So let's put YouTube again. And we'll put a period and we will italicize it. And again, I want a date. That's really important to me. It was, and it says right here, it was published on January 14th, 2015. So I'm going to add that information. It was 14th January 2015, I think. Is that right? January 14th, 2015. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious to know because it seems like there's an organization that sponsored this lecture. So she was a panelist, and the panel was called Techno-Utopianism and the Fate of the Earth. I kind of wished I knew who hosted the conference because that's, pretty important, but not sure I can find it. So I'm going to leave this the way it is right now. So let's say that for the time being, this is my list of works cited for my working thesis narrative essay. So how are we going to make this page look right for our list of works cited? Now I have this short little list down here of critical elements and formatting, right? It says this is how your list of works cited should be formatted thusly. First of all, there should be a title reading Works Cited centered at the top of the page. Well, we don't have that, so I'll add that. So I put it in here and then I center it. It said the whole page should be double spaced. So we will do that. We will double space the whole page. Right? All entries should be listed in alphabetical order by the first piece of information in the entry. Now, in both cases, we changed what was the first piece of information. So let's just take a look. We can see that C comes before L, so we're already in alphabetical order. So we're good to go. And now this is the trickiest part probably, right? Each entry should have its first line left justified and its subsequent lines indented a half an inch. So like the opposite of a paragraph. So the way to do that in Google Docs, you bring the margin over a half an inch and then you bring the top back over, right? So this is how you want it aligned, how you want its indentation organized. And then there should be no extra spaces between entries. So this is it. We're pretty much there. The, the key element that you want to really, really remember is to always cut and paste your list of works cited to the back, to the end, we'll say end, of your essay draft as soon as you can. I have seen many, many students lose points on their essay. That's not how you spell. Say lose points on their essay because they forgot to attach the list of works cited they had prepared. And this is always sad. So please don't be one of those students. All right, I think that's about it, and this tutorial's gone long enough. If you have any questions, then email me or ask me in class, and I look forward to seeing your work. Take care.